Hi, everybody. Welcome back to our fifth and final day, things you got to know when coming out later in life. And today we're going to talk about joy. Barb and I are passionate about this subject because we deal with the hard things, the hard emotions, all the change, but we also love to talk about there is a lot of wonderful and positive things that come when we come out later in life. And this is one through hard won experience, and it is also learned through all my clients that I've worked with over the years, and also a lot of reading. We believe in the power of the universe. And so we are really excited that you're here and that we can be part of your journey of coming out later in life. And we also believe that, we're getting a couple different pictures here. But we also want to say that Barb and I have been on this journey before you. There's Barb running with the flag. There's Barb running with the flag, leading you down the highway there. And but we wanted you to know we've been here before. We came out in 2016 and 2017, respectively. But fast forward, Barb and I have helped thousands of folks coming out later in life through all different ways, and really also through my podcast, Coming Out and Beyond. If you have not listened to it, please go find it. You can find a link for it on my website. And if you would be so kind and leave a review, I would really appreciate it. So these are all some of the women I have helped over the years. I probably should change some of those pictures. And we have lots of testimonials on our website for the people that we have helped. So, as you know, I've talked a lot about my personal life. And so basically, I'm going to use one sentence. I lived a very heteronormative life until I was 50. Parts of these pieces I have carried into my queer life. Parts of these pieces I have left behind. And my professional experience still stays with me no matter where I go. Barb also lived a very heteronormative life until she was 45, and then she had a relationship, and that made her reevaluate and change her life as well. And of course, her professional experiences follow her, whether she's living a heteronormative life or a more queer one. So today we are going to talk about joy. Um, there is so much about coming out of later in life that brings us incredible joy and incredible excitement. It's all the feel good emotions, maybe you could write some of those in the chat. Joy, happiness, excitement, uh, peace, learning. I mean, I probably could go on, but my mind is a little blank right now. So we talk a lot about our first lesbian relationship. We talk a lot about our first queer relationship. But both Barb and I believe fundamentally the best thing you can do, whether you have a relationship or not, is to build community, because that community of women who understand what you are experiencing is what will get you through when things are going wonderfully and when things are going not so great. And community truly is everything in the later in life community. So, Barb, why don't we talk about some of the reasons why we should come out to the LGBTQ community later in life?
Absolutely. Well, it's just been the greatest source of joy for me. I just wanted to add that, being seen, truly seen by others and held and supported by people whose stories are similar to mine. So the 7 reasons why I think you should come out later in life, you're going to find that supportive community. Coming out later in life, I know it's scary. I know it can feel hard, but when you come out to the LGBTQIA plus community, you're going to find people who welcome you, who support you, who understand you, and who see you. They get what you're going through, and they come to your rescue, really. You know, I can remember when I first came out, and the word got around because I lived in a small town, and women, lesbians who I didn't even know before reached out to me and were like, "Hey, here you're going through some big life changes. Want to come over for dinner?" You know, it's because they get it, they understand. Um, the heaviness goes away because you start living more authentically. When you live a life that isn't really aligned with who you are, the burden is so heavy. It can be just exhausting. But when you come out to the LGBTQIA plus community, um, you're in company of people where you don't have to shield or hide or carry or maintain a facade. You can just be who you are. And having that liberty, actually, that is one of the key words that I would say that comes along with finding community and coming out later in life is liberty. It's so much freedom to be able to be who you are and accepted for who you are. And once you do that and you get comfortable doing that, what's going to happen is you're going to inspire other people.
Absolutely.
And that can be other friends, other women in your life who may be, you know, experiencing struggles. It doesn't even really have to be other queer people. It can be that straight friend who's trapped in a crummy marriage who sees you step into your authenticity and sees your bravery and decides that she wants her version of that. It can
Yeah.
be,
I'm
sorry, go
sorry.
ahead.
Oh, okay. And I really agree with Barb about that. Yes, you might meet somebody who's coming out later in life and stuff like that. But a lot of times when we make great changes, when we're, later and later is self-defined. The youngest people that I work with are 25. I mean, and the oldest are 70 plus. So it's a very self-defined term later in life. And what I have found is people become inspired by what you do because you make great changes to your life. And I've even had family members have told me, because you did this, mom and sister, my daughter said this to me, and my sister said this to me, I was able to make changes to my life that I needed to make. So you will inspire others.
And you know, you said mom in there. Boy, what a great example for your kids,
Mhm,
right?
mhm,
To
mhm.
be able to show them that you're not going to compromise, you're not going to be this like eternally sacrificing woman who gives up a piece of herself to make other people happy. That um, you know, our kids learn by seeing, right? They learn by your example. And I know even though my kids had well, one of my kids had a really tough time in the beginning with my coming out. Now she will tell you, the one who had the hardest time with it, she says, I'm just so proud of my big gay mom. because she recognizes the bravery that it took. And she doesn't compromise in her own life either. So that's a really great lesson.
Mhm.
The relationships that you have once you come out into community, they are so much more fulfilling because you are approaching them in your authentic self and from a place that's true to you. So you're approaching making those new relationships from a much more honest place. And that kind of honesty is what precipitates connection with others.
Mhm.
Um, can we move on to the next one?
Sure.
Great. Okay. Now, this is one of the most awesome things I would say.
Yeah, that's probably the most awesome one.
I mean, oh my gosh, the queers, we know how to have fun, right? Like,
Yes, we do.
we know how to have fun. It is an awesome place for being a part of a queer community is awesome for celebrating. You will feel connected to some of the most dynamic people that you've ever met in your entire life. Smart people, creative people, and a place where diversity is really celebrated. And I think it's really important to underscore that, you know, all of sort of the cis and heteronormative um, examples of, you know, what is acceptable beauty, roles that people play, all of that stuff goes right out of the window.
Absolutely.
There's space for everybody, all ages, all sizes, all capabilities. And that diversity creates such a rich community
Mhm.
and really cultivates that acceptance.
Right. And and a lot of times too is that you will become a part of a movement. I mean, the queer community has had great strides in the United States through 2015. And then as time has gone on, we're starting to see some pretty hateful legislation out there. What I have learned in my own experience is that, having lived a heteronormative life and now I live a queer life. What blows me away is that I'm treated differently because who I go home to at night. And that has filled me with righteous anger. So
Mm.
I do a lot of advocacy work. I do a lot of work within Tennessee, which is, I mean, excuse my French, is basically a show for politics. And for some of us, not all of us get into, to the political ramifications. For some of us, it makes us become incredible advocates for our community.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah, I really would agree with that and say that in my experience of queer community is one where people show up for each other,
Right, right.
whether we know them personally or not.
Hmm.
And sometimes that call to action means, going to town hall or Queen's Park or whatever the version of that is in America. I don't know, but showing up with a sign in hand or linking arms with others to march to be able to uplift the community. And
Hmm.
we've had some of that up here in Canada as well, with people protesting, drag story time and that kind of thing. And it's really beautiful to see that, the number of protesters are minuscule in comparison to the number of queer people who just show up in droves.
Hmm.
And it's an amazing thing to be a part of. And when you are a part of that, like the sense of connectedness just generates such happiness.
Hmm.
Like I I can't even describe it. I think people need community, right? Like we need other people and for happiness, for good mental health.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things is that um, oftentimes it's really hard to understand this happiness or this contentment because what I have found typically, most of the women I work with talk about having a missing piece or something's wrong and they can't figure out what it is. And typically, I end up working with a lot of women that have had lots of education, stuff like that. And I think it's because they are really, really trying to find their community, to find their people. And what they realize is that the missing piece is the piece of themselves, which is often their queer identity. And once they accept that about themselves, then they find, personal peace, but also too, they find community. It is, that is why you're happier because, that searching, that longing, wondering what's wrong ends up being gone. Barb, you got this quote up. Do you want to talk?
Yeah, I sure did. This quote really stuck with me. The greatest gift you can give to others is the gift of unconditional love and acceptance. And when you when you are in the company, when you forge friendships with people whose stories are parallel to your own, similar to your own, with people who are in the same community as you. It's like, I see you and you see me.
Hmm.
And in that, there is just this inherent acceptance, and it opens up the possibility for love and connection, whatever that may look like. Um, I love, Emery, that, I never heard it called this until you said it. Instead of calling it coming out,
Hmm.
we call it letting in,
We do
right?
call it letting in because then you take the power back. And then you're able to say, okay, who am I going to let into my life today? Who am I going to share something important about myself? Who is worthy of my story? And that's when we end up taking the power back in this scenario, because we're letting people in. And even though when we come out, we choose, we choose to do the same thing, it's more about mindset, right? It's letting in instead of coming out, because letting in feels much more, I feel like much more, there's a choice to that. While coming out, you have to sort of, there's a choice to that, but it's like you have to prove something, while letting in is telling people exactly who you are. Do you have any other thoughts about that, Barb?
Well, yes, I mean, I don't even know how I can improve upon that, because it's so true. Like when we let people in and we see them and we know that they are safe and that they will hold us in our truth, and honor that truth, it just fosters connection, really unlike anything that you can experience, and anything that I have experienced anyway. So we've talked about, like, wow, this is all the benefits of connecting, but how do we connect with people once we have come out? And this is something that we talk about. It comes up a lot in group, right, Emery? Like, you're like, oh gosh, okay, I know this is who I am, but how do I even begin to find other people like me, especially if I've never been a part of this community before? And I'm so late to the party. I mean, this is a sentiment we hear a lot. Um, and and I'm not just talking about dating, I'm talking about like just finding people in general. And the good news is, we are more connected than we've ever have been before. We have this awesome thing called the internet where we can search things out, and these are just a few ideas of ways that you can connect with other people in queer community. And my biggest suggestion would be to find something that you are already inclined to do, or maybe that you already do. So say you're a really sporty person, and you're athletic and you love to be outside and you love to run around and you love to be a part of a team. Go join a sports team. Hello, there's softball. That's the sport of our people, right, Emery?
That is
Like,
the sport of our people.
pickleball is a close second.
Well, pickleball's a close second with the older lesbians.
And gosh, if the last one I would just point out is like, oh yeah, we love kayaking. That's a thing. Like, you're gonna find lots of lesbians out kayaking on the water. But basically, it doesn't matter what you're in. You could be a video gamer. You could be a theater person. You could be a visual arts person, or maybe you don't have a lot of time for that stuff because you're a professional and you're a business person. Well, guess what? There are whole groups like chambers of commerce just dedicated to,
Yeah. Hmm.
right, like to
Yeah.
to fostering and supporting queer businesses. So you can sort of double dip and align that with promoting your business as well. um it really is as diverse as there are people.
Hmm.
You're going to find queer people in
Everywhere.
everywhere, no matter what. But part of finding them is that you need to be out and seen too, so they can see you,
Hmm. Hmm.
right?
Barb, we're going to have to update this. It doesn't have kayak in it.
Oh my gosh, kayaking probably deserves its own slide. Let's get
It
real.
does not deserve its own. If you're, and also too, even professional organizations, like if you're a lawyer, There is Lambda Legal, which is something you can join. There are other professional organizations in big cities. If you're a realtor and you're LGBTQ, there is a LGBTQ realtor, gatherings. I mean, the thing is that we can point you in all these directions, but honestly, the person that needs to do the work to find these organizations is you. You can do something as easily as Googling, seeing if there's any web pages. Facebook is great because you can go into Facebook and go LGBT realtor Phoenix, Arizona. And if there is one, they will pop up. So there is a lot of ways to begin to find community. And of course, I mean, if you're in the theater world, a lot of gays inhabit the theater world, so I'm sure you're already aware of that as well. Um, but you can first, a lot of people first do it online. They do. I have a Facebook group that I'm going to invite all of you into. If you're not already in there, that is just like this one, secret. No one knows it's there. The only way you can get into it is if you know Barb or I. And I'm not even going to tell you the name, but if you want to get into that group, you are certainly welcome to do that. So you can, but besides my groups, there's lots of other groups out there. There's also in Reddit and Discord, Meetup, Tonda, Barb. Now, talk about a little bit about queer TikTok.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, we think of TikTok, I think a lot of people think of TikTok as being for, a really younger generation. Let me tell you how many older lesbians are on TikTok and late in life lesbians too. Like there is a legion on TikTok posting about their experiences, looking to discover, like just to learn about the whole coming out process. There are so many hashtags aligned with late in life lesbians. And again, like later in life subjective, but I see them well into their 60s
Oh
there.
yeah, and also too, another hashtag people use is late bloomer. That is a hashtag for the queer community as well. And yeah, I don't know if any of you've heard this, but there's like this thing, TikTok made me gay, because there is a lot of younger lesbians that are butch, but very beautiful women. And so there's sort of a joke that TikTok makes people gay, which we know that's not true, but there are some very attractive lesbians on TikTok and it's fun. So even if you just follow some people to have fun, there's some really funny lesbians on there. Barb and I are on there. We post now and then. Barb's a much more frequent poster than I am, but we're on there. And so if you're not comfortable enough to be out, you can just go and look at all the different types of LGBTQ stuff is available on TikTok. And there's some really great people to follow too. And there's people you can follow that are fun, but you also can follow people that are actually like have a lot of education and talk about more serious issues as well. So anything else you want to add, Barb, to our finding community?
Just like if you are on TikTok and you want, like you mentioned hashtags, so yeah, hashtag late in life lesbian. You can use hashtag lesbians over 30, lesbians over 40, lesbians over 50, lesbians over
Yeah.
60.
Yeah.
Hashtag WLW, which is women loving women as well. And yeah, you're gonna find if you start diving into late life lesbian TikTok, you're gonna find some content that's really funny, and you're also going to find some stories that really touch you and probably look like yours as well, and people to connect with. So that's just a few hashtag suggestions that I've got for you there.